Okay, we are live with Mike Leng from Unorthodox Nutrition. I will give you guys just a brief intro. I've known Mike for, I don't know, some time now.
Yeah, good few years now.
Can I be on the camera?
Yeah. Chelsea wants to be on the camera as well. You've got to smush in, though. You've got to smush in. Yeah. Mike's been working with Chelsea for a really long time, probably 4 years, something like that. Helping her out with her nutrition. Mike also works with a lot of certainly jiu-jitsu kind of UK MMA and BJJ athletes. Leone is one that I can think of off the top of my head. Jamie Hughes. Fion? Do you work with Fion as well?
We have in the past. That was Ben who worked with her, but we don't currently do it, but we have done it in the past for her. Obviously, we've done Jamie Hughes, Dan Strauss, Chris Regan, Ash Williams, it's
a ton of people, right? So I mean, if you want to just give us a little bit of background about who you are, that'd probably be useful for people, and then we'll jump into some questions and whatnot, and we'll go from there.
So we've been going now for 11 years this year, which is it seems like 2 minutes, but it's flown by. Started off very early on, back when like the Cage Warriors forum was a big thing, of just having like an intense interest in nutrition, and just started helping people from there. The guys started winning, making weight easily, with no problems, just doing things correctly. And it just kind of like grew from there, really. We kind of, because obviously I do jiu-jitsu myself, it just kind of like fell into that kind of niche as well. And predominantly a lot of female athletes, actually. I'd probably say about 80% of what we work with is female athletes. Currently, it has changed a lot, but we work with every kind of sport you can imagine. We do mostly combat athletes now, but there's still a good athlete, CrossFit, Premier League football players to Olympians, UFC guys, like anything and everything, obviously Tom Blackledge, Ross Pearson, Rosie Sexton, they're all guys that we work with, and girls that we work with, sorry. So if it's happened in combat sports, or pretty much any sport, we've seen it now, so
Nice. I mean, it's a good long time to be working, and you've probably got some skills in the nutrition, I would say. So I thought the first thing to jump in with, we had a bunch of questions from people, but I think kind of the most important thing for people to get out of this is what is kind of an overview of a relatively healthy diet for most people. We've got like a lot of questions about like nutrition timing and ratios of carbs to protein post workout and stuff like that. But I think unless people have like a little bit of a basic understanding of what is a good diet or what is a relatively healthy diet, none of that really matters.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to guess just by like the usernames and stuff that most people are probably jiu-jitsu people who are doing this. So
yeah, absolutely.
A good analogy is kind of like if you think of nutrition the same way as you would do guard passing. So obviously I'm not any good at jiu-jitsu, but I'm just going to try and use the analogies for it. So to pass guard effectively, you've got to do certain basics well. Control distance, get grips, control hips, etc. Like it's no good trying to do cartwheel passes unless you can do other types of passes and things like that. So nutrition is the same way. Until you've got the basics first and the correct principles, it doesn't matter about all the fancy stuff. So when it comes to somebody, I think it was John Berardi who said it, I might be wrong though, don't quote me, said if you can't kill it or pick it, don't eat it. So if you want to hit like 90% of the stuff at the time, then it comes down to those kind of things. That will cover you pretty much well in good stead. If you want to get slightly more detailed past that, then you need to start looking at principles of nutrition, which starts from what's the goal that you're after? So are you looking to cut weight? Are you looking to maintain it? Are you coming up to a competition? Are you looking to gain muscle mass, etc.? And then it comes down to things like correct calorie intake, protein, and then other macronutrients and things from there. So for most jiu-jitsu people, the thing that I say to everybody is get an idea of how many calories that you actually needs to maintain your current weight. When I ask people this, when I'm doing seminars and when people come on as clients, they generally have no idea. So if you don't know how many calories that you're eating, you can't start to make educated decisions on how to adjust what you're doing. there's no magic nutrition plan that's out there. It's the thing that makes the difference is like intelligent adjustments over time. So it comes down to needing to know like what your calorie intake is, and then you can start to work out things like how much protein you should be having, and then like nutrient timing and stuff like that, which will play a part, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So in terms of like calorie intake, do you use any of the formulas to work out like basic caloric needs? And do you stand by them, or do you think they're a bit rubbish, or is there one that you particularly like?
So there's tons out there. You can now go just on Google and type in free calorie calculator, and it'll like put in your details and it'll give you a rough idea. Now, there's always going to be differentiations between you like what you find. Generally, what I've found is most go for your body weight in pounds times 12, and that's roughly going to be what it should be. Now, there's some people who are going to be a lot more than that. We all know those people who can eat like an insane amount of calories. They never put on weight. Ben Robson is obviously somebody that we work with who now is part of like the company, but he even when he was like 63 kilos, he was eating nearly 5,000 calories a day. Like his calorie, it's insane. It's insane. But then you've got other people who they would just gain a stupid amount of weight for that. The most important thing when it comes down to calorie calculation is to pick a number, start, and then see where you are. If you start gaining, if you think you're gaining weight, or well, if you are gaining weight, sorry, start to dial it back by 10% every week until you find out where you're maintaining. Now,
right, okay, so if you're like, let's say you pick 2,000 calories a day, and then you're gaining weight, and then you drop it to 1,800, and then drop it again. Is it again by 10%? So you drop it by 180 calories?
Yeah, I would always drop it by 10%. Now, what I'd make sure is that you are given plenty enough time to take an average. So what I generally say for people when they're trying to find the baseline is give it 2 weeks as a minimum. So eat that amount of calories for 2 weeks every single day, or over the week, 2,000 times 7.
Yeah.
And then see where you are. Don't weigh yourself every single day because your body weight fluctuates massively, especially in women as well. They're like, it can play like a massive role. So we make sure that people don't weigh in every single day. The other side of it is depending on what your training's like. You may do a training session that you might do a couple of rounds of rolling and some light drilling, or you might flow roll, or you might go in for a light session, but all of a sudden you have 3 or 4 wars with guys in the gym, so you need to go to change throughout those 2 weeks. So I'll give it 2 weeks and then assess it and move forward. The main thing that we do when we start working with everybody, especially in the initial week, is just check people's metabolism is supposed to be where they are. What you generally find with jiu-jitsu athletes is that they do a competition, crash diet because they don't give themselves enough time. So they're doing something ridiculous like eating like 500 calories a day or around that amount, finish the competition and then go, right, I'm now going to eat everything that can outrun me. So the metabolism just ends up being all over the place. Or the other side of it is the crash diet for so long, they just come to us and the metabolism shot. And they're like, I need to lose weight, but I'm only eating 400 calories a day. It's like, you've got no chance. So you've got to you need to know where you are before you can make intelligent decisions.
Yeah, fair enough. If you in terms of weight loss specifically, let's say that if someone wanted to, get down to a different weight category, what would be an approximate healthy weight loss for them? Would it be like a pound a week or 2 pounds a week or 10 kilos a week?
1% of body weight per week.
Okay.
So that depends. Obviously, larger individuals can use it faster. Smaller individuals lose it slower. Females are different than males. Unfortunately, males do lose weight easier than females. That's body weight fat. The main thing that you've got, we generally say a pound to 2 pounds a week. So half a kilo to a kilo-ish.
Yeah.
If you do any more than that, then your training's really going to start suffering. You can do it, no doubt about it. But then what you're going to do is everything's kind of got a cost, and it's balancing it out. A good analogy from a guy called John Meadows, which is a guy based over in the States, is training's like digging a ditch. So the more you train, the deeper your ditch gets, and then you've got your nutrition recovery is filling it back up. Now, what people generally do is they train harder coming into competition, but eat a lot less. So what ends up happening is the ditch just gets really, really deep. They can't fill it back up. And then they start to pick up injuries. A lot of people feel they get ill. There's like a lot of stuff. So you've got to be careful. And most people as well aren't full-time jiu-jitsu athletes. So they've got to balance out like the rest of their life as well. For example, you mentioned Leonie before, like she's a full-time firefighter. So there's absolutely no way you can reduce her calories to nothing because you've got to pull people out of burning buildings all day. So, you've got to have the right balance for it.
How about the opposite way? Because we often get guys that, like for myself, for example, I'm quite small for a featherweight. If I wanted to gain weight, which would be the opposite way around, is it going to be the same kind of thing, like 1% per week type thing?
I wouldn't normally do it that fast, especially in like natural athletes. So I would probably go for about no more than about 2 to 3 pounds a month, depending on what they're after and where they are. Jiu-jitsu athletes, it's a bit different because it depends like what we generally look as. Are you looking to fill out a weight class or are you looking to move to another weight class? What we generally do for people who are trying to move up is move them a bit past, so your feather move you like slowly, like a bit out of the weight class and then bring it back a little bit. But people are going to need to have like proper off seasons to be able to do this. It used to be people used to have off like in jiu-jitsu, like gi season pretty much used to run from Christmas to Worlds, and then it used to be no gi season till Christmas. And athletes would either pick one or the other, which they were better at. But now athletes pretty much compete year-round all the time. Yeah. And at the top end of competition, with you guys doing things like that, you've got to like pick your competitions and have proper off seasons. And all that happens is you end up just like competing injured constantly, and it's hard enough to like compete not injured as it is. Never mind, like, if you're competing like every month or something like that. And it depends on the level of competition. Obviously, there's a big difference between doing local, like white, blue belt competitions or doing international or world class black belt competitions or sub only and stuff. So you've got a kind of bit horses for courses kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. In terms of training days versus non-training days, do you have any advice for people on that? Is it like, that's one of the most common questions that we got was like, what should my training day look like versus a non-training day?
So generally what we do, most athletes, is we keep calories a bit higher on training days than non-training days, just purely because your expenditure is so much more. We also like, good take on that, is more carbs, obviously, on training days. So, and then we generally have like low carbs on non-training days. There's a lot out there at the moment, keto diets, carnivore diets, low carb diets in general, which, have the place and they're absolutely fine methods, but I've still never met an athlete that doesn't do really well on some level of carbohydrate intake. So it's something that I would focus on. Carbs aren't something to be scared of, especially if you're training hard, training often. It's a preferred fuel source for the body. It's just something that we just do highly recommend.
Do you have like a specific ratio of carbs, proteins, and fat that you tend to work towards, or is it more?
There's kind of like ones that were like good starting points. But again, going back to it, the magic of anything is adjusting it, and every individual is going to be different. So for rough amounts that we start people on is generally like about 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, about the same of carbohydrate, and then 0.25 to 0.5 grams of fat per kilo. I can do that for you in pounds as well, but it's a bit. I'm going off kilos because everyone generally works on it in the UK.
Yeah, no one likes pounds except these Americans.
You work in stones. That's the most ridiculous way to have. I've never heard.
You know what? I can't do stones. My wife
Nobody can do stones. It's
my wife works in stones, and I work in pounds and kilos. I've never I can't do stones. I don't know what that is ridiculous. But I'm British, so I don't mind.
I mean, that could be a niche in the market for you, Mike. You could, start working in stones for people.
I might start just my own metric, just like a random metric, and just like statements like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of going back to like training days and non-training days, is there anything that you would recommend eating? Sorry, I'm about to get a baby.
Yeah, the baby was about to grab the computer. Sorry.
Is there anything to recommend like pre-training? So what would like a pre-training meal look like? How long before training would it be? And then the same for post as well.
Yeah. So pre-training, about 90 minutes to 2 hours before, depending on what you eat. Most people will do well with a meal of carbohydrate and protein. You know, just quite simple. You know, lean protein source. You know, chicken breast, pork loin, white fish, that kind of thing. White potatoes, white rice, that kind of stuff. Oatmeal's fine there. A lot of people like cream of rice. Then actually, we've got a few athletes that use baby porridge, believe it or not, or baby cereal.
That doesn't sound
delicious.
It is. Have you ever tried it? It's amazing.
No.
So yeah. So there's lots of ones, but about 90 minutes before. Now, some people might start to become a bit shaky if they have carbohydrates too close to workout and things like that. So sometimes we add a bit of fat to that meal, so it can be a bit of peanut butter, like you know, that kind of thing. So say a meal like 30 some oats, 30 grams of protein, so like 1 scoop in a protein shake, and some peanut or almond butter is fine. After the workout, again, we would go for protein and carbohydrates. There's not really this magical anabolic window. Well, there is an anabolic window to recover from training, but it's not as like, it's not more of a window. It's more like a barn door. So just kind of like when you get home, have a meal and things like that. You don't need to rush to have like a post-workout shake and things like that. Some athletes do, depending on who they are. It's more like so you can start to get protein and carbohydrate in for recovery. It's more important for guys who are running 2 training sessions a day. So if you're doing a training session in the morning, you need to make sure that you're going to have carbohydrate before your next session, so you feel up for it and things like that. So running 2 days is a bit different.
Okay. And is there any kind of like ratio of carbs? Would that change the ratio of carbs to proteins and fats pre-workout and post-workout?
It can do. It depends on the person. Some people handle more carbohydrate well, some people don't. When it comes to like food volume and things like that, like pre-training, some people feel better with more carbohydrate in the system, where some don't like have a lot in the stomach before the train. Same with like post-training. There's like some people will finish training and be ravenous straight away, and some people will finish training and don't feel like eating for an hour or so. That's absolutely fine. How you feel, like the total nutrition plan and those things. Like nutrient timing is important, but it plays a smaller percentage than, you know, making sure the overall plan's complete.
Yeah, I guess it comes back to the thing, if you know, you got to have the basics in place first, otherwise it really doesn't make any difference anyway, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So in terms of there's 2 other things in this kind of training type thing I wanted to talk about. Number 1 is like supplementation. So obviously you got like so like in training you got BCAAs. People talk about it pre, post, during, all kinds of different things. You got caffeine in training is one. Michael just asked that question.
Yep.
You know, you obviously have pre-workouts, which I don't think pre-workouts are as much of a thing as they used to be. I feel like they're
not here.
Maybe they're just not here. So you got we got pre-workouts, you know, all of those kind of things. Any supplements pre-post training or during training that you'd recommend, and then in general as well?
So I'll kind of go through like the bit of the list of the things you mentioned there. So branched chain amino acids, which are BCAAs, which are what proteins broke down into. Excuse me. A lot of people like those during, during, after training because they're very easily absorbed by the body. Now, there's a lot of research coming out at the moment where it's as long as your total protein's in place, so how much protein you should be having through the day, it doesn't make that much difference for muscle gain. However, we have found that it helps recovery and reduce soreness for athletes. So for a lot of people, especially who've got a high volume of training, it's something that we do recommend. Post and during training, if like obviously if you're one of those athletes that food doesn't go very well, then a carbohydrate powder, you know, something like branched cyclic dextrin, which you can get pretty much from everywhere now, which is a really good carbohydrate source, very easily absorbed by the body. Someone obviously mentioned caffeine there. Caffeine's one of the most proven athletic performances ever. Like, it's just all research completely backs it up. But the problem is that you build up a tolerance to caffeine. So what you might find is like one, like his Americano there might give him, you know, a buzz when he starts doing it, but then all of a sudden, you know, the coffee start getting bigger, and then you're moving into like more and more all the way to like crazy pre-workout stuff that you see. Now, it's caffeine's absolutely fine to take and no problem with it all, and there's tons of benefits to it. But if you ever get to the point where if you don't have caffeine for a day and you start to get headaches, then you probably want to.
Oh, what does that sound like?
It doesn't sound like me,
sound like.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You get
caffeine, so like I'm terrible. Like I'm terrible.
Caffeine. Yeah, I thought you were a big caffeine guy.
I am. Yeah. Ben always likes to say like over caffeinated, underprepared, but that's a terrible saying.
Caffeine is my fuel at the moment, I think.
Yeah, well, I've got a 7-month-old, you've got a 7-month-old. Like sometimes it's liquid sleep. You know, it's needs must. But if you're depending on it every single training session to get you through it, then you probably need to look at the overall.
Yeah, I remember I used to. When I was driving up to Birmingham a lot, I'd have I think it was Monster. It was either Monster or Rockstar on the way up. Be like early in the morning, and I'd find if I actually did that, it would just wreck my training session. I'd get like the jitters. It'd be horrible. My cardio would go. It was just a miserable experience on it.
Yeah, and you know, taking in like a lot of caffeine can make you ill. Like, I think if you get to around about 4 grams of caffeine, like you're going to be really, really ill. Like to the point like a caffeine overdose can kill you. So, there's nothing wrong with caffeine. Just be sensible with it.
Yeah.
If you get to the point where you're having to take pre-workouts for every single training session, then you probably need to look at your recovery, your sleep. Like, you know, that's the thing. Like, if people tell me, "Oh yeah, I need it," well, how many hours do you sleep? Oh, I sleep 5 hours a night. Well, you're answering your own question, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's certain situations where it is useful.
Yeah. In terms of water, was the other thing I was going to touch on as well. Like, what's a good level of water intake for most people?
Anywhere on most athletes between 2 to 4 liters a day. So we generally play around with water a bit when people are cutting into competition and things like that, especially with females. It can help like not hold water weight as much. But general guidelines about 2 liters, and then training days, like especially as we come in summer now, most gyms in industrial units or things like that are generally sweat boxes. Like your gym, are you still in the place where I came before? Yeah. So you've got a door that you can open, which isn't too bad, but I bet it's still absolutely boiling in the summer.
Yeah, crazy.
So
and like the heat on as well to make everybody sweat and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a good way to cut weight. Yeah. Kill people,
avoid injuries, mate. Avoid injuries is the best thing.
Yeah. I always wondered in California and stuff, are the gyms like air-conned and things like that, or is it just?
Yeah, well, what used to happen before Worlds, it would be like, Worlds is in June.
Yeah.
It would be like, 30 degrees outside, and then they'd have the heat on. So it would be like 40 degrees inside, and you get used to training in it. But that was for people cutting weight a lot of the time. But I always found that I got less injuries because of that as well, though. Like I would I would feel more mobile. My body would just feel a lot better.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, actually. Like that, a lot of people do feel that way because people don't do like correct what everybody like. There's the joke, isn't it, that purple belts skip warm ups and things like that. So Tom, I think you froze there. So I'm just going to keep talking. Have you got me back?
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. My Wi-Fi went down for some reason. I'm having real problems over here. We're in the country. What can we do?
Water intake, especially comes into summer. If you're training, keep it on the higher end. Obviously, start to add salt to your meals and stuff as well, like cramps and things that can start to play a big part in gyms, just purely because people are dehydrated. To give you an idea, for every 1% you're dehydrated, you'll lose 10% in performance. So a good basis is look at your wee. If your wee's clear, you're doing a good job. If you're drinking so much that you can't move away 4 feet from the toilet, then you're probably doing it a bit much. So try and play with it. Somebody, Ashley, you said there, what your thoughts on squashy water? As long as it's the really low calorie, zero sugar stuff, absolutely fine. It is going to add calories to it, probably per, I think, 500 milliliters or per one. It's like 14 calories or something. But if it's the difference between you drinking it and not drinking it, I also add the squash. So,
in terms of water intake, let's say that during a training session, I drank like a liter of water. Would that be included in my daily intake, or would my daily intake plus that?
That would be included, but obviously in a training day, you would ideally be taking more in. So yeah, that would absolutely be included in it.
Okay, cool. Anything else on water?
I don't know. I wasn't here to hear the.
Yeah, so mostly drink water. That's good. So I had some other questions, but they're completely gone from my mind. Other supplements in general, do you recommend taking? Like fish oil, for example, is something I've been recommended a ton.
Yeah. Now, it's something that we also recommend. It's great for grapplers because, especially gi players, wake up in the morning and all of a sudden, like they start to go like this with their hands because they're hurting. You know, their friends get wrecked, so you're laughing. Everyone's got Pringles for fingers, so it helps with joint inflammation and things like that. So.
Yeah. Is there an amount? Because I remember, I think it was actually John Berardi answered the question. It was like he was recommending I take 32 grams of fish oil.
Yeah. Now
like weeks and then drop it in half. So it's like 16 grams of fish oil or something crazy like that.
Yeah. So there's loads of stuff out there. I generally recommend between 4 to 8 per day, depending of 1,000 milligrams. Now, the things that you need to watch out for is because fish oil has become more popular, there's a lot of junk ones out there. So what you're generally finding is that what you need to look for is a high amount of EPA and DHA there on the back. Now, they should really make up the 1,000 milligrams of fish oil that are in it. If not, then it's...
Oh, I lost Mike.
I'm going to say that if it's not, then it's probably bad. That's what I'm going to go with. We lost Mike. I don't know what happened to Mike. Everybody's having Wi-Fi problems today. See, I knew it was Mike. We did like a test earlier today. What I'm doing now is called filling, by the way. We did a test earlier.
This is a skill he learned.
Yeah. And I dropped
just something
out.
He does.
You know, so I don't know what's happened to Mike. He's just disappeared. And unfortunately, I can't answer the nutrition questions for him. So I'm going to drop him a message and see what happens. See if he comes back in. I don't know why we dropped out.
Does anybody else have any questions? Post them up
throw
in the
up the
chat
questions.
Now. We also might have solved our virtual private problem for those of you who are going to be there tomorrow.
How have we solved that?
We're going to get that thing.
Oh yeah, we're hoping to get a better Wi-Fi thing, so you might actually be able to see
what we're doing,
and whatnot, which is great. What was the number of fish oils? He said
about to find out.
4 to 8. Hello.
Hey,
Let's see if we can add Mike back in. Mike.
Hey, there we go.
Oh,
sorry,
no, there we go.
There we go. So fish oil.
yeah. Back on fish oil.
Back on fish oil. Yeah. So it's definitely a supplement I recommend. You don't need to be taking like 30 a day. Like for a start, every time that you burp or breathe is going to be a horrific experience. So I'd probably dial it back, especially like obviously the bigger guys need taking more, lighter guys need taking a bit less. Sorry, somebody asked the number of fish oils, anywhere between 4 and 8 per day, depending on how much you weigh.
So what ratio of kind of EPA to DPA as well?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I can send it over to you. Of what it's like. They're the numbers that want to be as high.
And then the other thing is liquid versus capsule as well. I've heard a lot of negative things about the capsules in terms of it's not as fresh because it goes through the process, and the liquid's a lot better.
Yeah, it can be, and you generally find that you pay more for the liquid because it's harder for them to hide the filler stuff in it, where the caps have got like gelatin in them and things like that. But if you pay for decent ones, you're still going to get like a good amount. There's been a lot.
Just drink fish oil for no reason.
No, I mean, I think the fish oil the actual oil doesn't taste as bad as the caps.
Terrible.
Like in terms of you drink the fish oil and then you don't get the fishy burps in the same way.
Don't listen to Tom, guys. It's awful.
If you get the burps, keep them in the fridge or the freezer, and you won't get them.
No, there you go. There you go.
So we could just.
Oh, you're talking about the caps?
Yeah, the caps. Yeah. So,
do you have any recommended brand that you like to?
So, in the UK, like I'm not affiliated with anybody or any of that kind of rubbish, but My Protein's pretty good. They've got like 3 levels of fish oil, like going from about I think it's about £10 up to about £50, obviously in purity. So obviously budget can play a part in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they give full breakdowns on EPA and DHA and everything that's in them on the website as well before you buy it. So they're pretty good. There's a good American company that does have a UK stockist called Biotest. They've got a product called Flame Out that's really, really good, but that is expensive.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of stuff coming out at the moment about krill oil that's supposed to be really, really good.
Yeah, that's going to be one of my questions in terms of, because I know a lot of it, we used to like cod liver oil would always be the thing. And then are you looking for like smaller fish or the larger fish? This is what you want.
Yeah. So I would stay away from cod liver oil and move obviously towards like, the full fish oil like omega 369. And most of these products have that already in that I've like talked about previously. So,
was the krill oil because of heavy metal? Or was it in terms of purity?
Yeah, it's just purity. It's generally, like it's always the way that when these supplements kind of start off like a bit more pure and a bit more of a high quality product. Yeah. And then as they get popular, people look for a way to like cut margins and stuff like that. It happened like a good few years ago with protein. Like all of a sudden, like people stopped making really good high like whey isolates and started adding in like protein blends or proprietary blends that they call them. But that's kind of like swung back the other way now, so that's not as popular, but it does happen a bit.
Yeah. Are there any brands that you should really stay away from for in terms of supplements?
Anybody that's got an absolutely like ripped bodybuilder on the label,
okay,
right,
probably just rubbish. Yeah. Or anything that's promising like crazy, like you will have 10 pounds of muscle in 2 days, and like that's all bollocks. Unfortunately, there's a supplement that supplement a diet, so it's not going to make like an insane amount of difference. So other things that you might want to look at as well is a multivitamin, depending on how many vegetables and fruits that you eat. You can get that in tablet forms. You can get greens powders, you can get superfood powders. They're all fine. Creatine as well. Creatine's a great supplement, one of the most proven supplements ever. It was nearly banned by WADA when it was really started to get popular. WADA, for people who don't know, is the organization that basically like tests the UFC and the Olympics and all that kind of stuff. So creatine's great. So about 5 grams a day, just added into a shake. A lot of people, especially weight class spots, are scared of it because of water retention, because that's how it works. Basically, it pulls water into the muscle, but you don't need to be afraid of it when it comes to cutting weight and stuff like that. It doesn't make you retain water, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I tried creatine, I gained quite a bit of weight. I did do it a little bit stupidly about 2 weeks out from a fight, which probably wasn't the best idea. So I was like, this isn't good. I was going up through the weight classes and whatnot.
Yeah, depending on where you are, like obviously, like in your level of muscle mass, then it can pull like quite a bit of water and glycogen into the muscle. So I
think I jumped like 2 kilos a week or something like that. I was like, oh, this is not good.
We look jacked, so it's okay.
I did, yeah. I was like, what this? What's going on? And I was like,
Tom wants to know what creatine does.
Tom's asking what creatine does.
What creatine does. So what creatine does is it helps pull water into the muscle cells. So basically, it's great for bodybuilders, like it a lot because it makes the muscles look bigger, fuller, but it also helps with like power output and things like that, which is important for most athletes. There's also a lot of information and research coming out at the moment that can help with degenerative brain diseases. So if you've got it in your family, it can help ward that off. Like, don't take my word on that. I'm not a doctor, but the research is like looking more and more promising.
That's
interesting. Going back a little bit, because I just realized this question: are there any bad times to eat during the day? So, for example, should you eat late at night? Does it make any difference at all? I'm guessing no. Are you drinking coffee as well, Mike?
No, it's tea actually. However, I have been up since 2 a.m. with my son, so I'm entitled to caffeine if I want it. Yeah.
I feel sorry for you.
About
I was up at 5 this morning with Thea.
Sleep is for the weak.
Yeah, apparently so.
I miss it so much. So no, there's not. Now, what the came is there's a lot of stuff out about that at the moment about like fasting, intermittent fasting, all that's kind of really popular. Mm-hmm. But you find methods, but they still have to adhere to principles that we talked about previously. So caloric intake and things like that. Now, it was made very popular. Like probably people have either heard of 6 meals a day or 3 big meals and snacks, square meals a day that our parents talked about all the time. It's what fits best for you, as long as the total amount of calories is in there and total amount of protein, you're going to be pretty good. So just works for you. a lot of classes are on late at night, so they may finish like 7, 8, 9 o'clock. By the time they get home, get showered, cook something, a lot of people are scared to eat. Don't be. It's absolutely fine to eat. It's absolutely fine to have carbohydrates at that time. Just do what's best for you. Some
Louis,
people,
are you listening to this? I don't want to hear any more whining about it being too late for you to eat.
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading a study. I think Chelsea might have sent it to me actually about the. It was about diets, different types of diets, because we're going to move on to that in a second, because a lot of people asked about different things.
Yeah.
And it was the effectiveness of the diet was more to do with the ability to stick on that diet than it was the makeup of the diet.
Yep. So the main thing that comes to any diet is consistency. So I can write the greatest program in the world for anybody, but if they don't stick to it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's where the difference of coaching comes in versus just writing out plans. So certain things like I quite like a high number of smaller meals, especially when people are dieting, because they know that they've only got so long till the next meal. So it helps them work with hunger a little bit better. We use like free meals and things like that, or free half days, because that gives people psychological breaks. And it knows that when they get a craving for something that's, you know, they shouldn't really be eating, they know that they might be able to have it in a couple of days, which improves adherence. Again, it goes back to what somebody mentioned with squash. Adding that again, if that's the difference between you adhering to drinking 2, 3, 4 litres of water, or you won't drink it because it just tastes like plain water, I would rather you add the 14 calories and drink the water. So it absolutely is. And that's where a lot of problems with this stuff, things aren't sustainable. You know, like, you know, you can, if you put people on really like restricted no carb plans, at some point they're going to crack. And, you know, the truth is that everybody lies, and everybody will have a break on the diet at some point, whether they tell me that or not. You know, they'll have a couple of biscuits, or they'll order a pizza, or it happens.
Eat a punnet of grapes.
Eat a punnet of grapes on a regular basis.
Just like find her in a cupboard, just shoveling grapes and all.
Yeah. Well, she's had some funny ones. It's been hilarious. I remember one of mine when I was cutting, I had to cut to under 62 kilos. And like, I decided I wasn't going to eat bread. Yeah. And I remember like literally crying over a piece of toast. I was just like, I want this toast. Why can't I have this bread? I just want this toast. It was brilliant.
Like, so unfair.
Yeah, it's horrible. Why? Yeah. I had a bit of toast and I was fine.
Yeah, yeah. And the kind of like carbs are life. Yeah, it doesn't need to get to that. You know, there's certain, like, most things can be worked in. However, there's certain things, again, when it comes to adherence of how people can play it. Like, there's like 2 types of people. So someone like my wife who can, you know, when she was dieting for our wedding and stuff like that, as long as she could have like a curly whirly or a couple of biscuits on a night with a cup of tea, she was generally fine. Stop, you know, and be fine. And yeah, great, I've had the fix. But then there's other people who will have the chocolate bar, like, then eat all the children's food that's in the house, then get in the car and go to the supermarket and buy 2 tubs of Ben & Jerry's, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's about knowing who you are. So if you know that if you have Nutella on toast for breakfast as your free meal, that you're going to go crazy and eat everything through the rest of the day, or knowing that you can wait till the night and have a bit of extra. There's a lot of stuff as well when it comes to improving adherence now, is like, there's like low calorie ice creams. Like, you can get a pint of ice cream now for like 3 calories and stuff like that. Yeah. Which is where another thing where I'm jealous of the States, because they've got so much more.
Oh, there's so much good stuff.
Yeah.
And I miss
like, they've got something called, like, I might have got the number here, like 647 bread that's got like 2 grams of carbs per slice and stuff like that.
Ezekiel bread, right?
Yeah,
That's actually quite nice.
It is. It's really good.
Yeah, we still can't get it here readily. Like, Josh Palmer messages me all the time about stuff. He'll be able to get stuff. It's horrible. Like,
his meats, man. His meats that he keeps cooking is killing me.
Oh yeah, he's slowly just becoming Joe Rogan. Though in quarantine, it's a bit worrying.
Yeah, he's with archery now. That's the latest thing I saw. A 2-mile run and 50 arrows, and I'm like, okay. Josh.
Yeah, with the dogs and stuff, he's just slowly descending into madness. I'll have to have a word with him.
Yeah. I think everybody will get there for sure.
Yeah.
Simon asked about beta-alanine.
Yeah, going back to supplements before we kind of move on. What about beta-aniline?
Alanine.
Yeah. It's absolutely fine. Pre-workout helps like improve performance and things like that. You can get some people who are non-responded to it. But it's absolutely fine. You'll find out that it is in a lot of pre-workouts and stuff like that already. But that's absolutely fine to take.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So back onto the kind of topic of diets. There's so much stuff. Like pretty much every week you hear about like either keto or paleo. Did you watch Game Changers, by the way? We'll get onto actually we'll segue into that a little bit later. So like you have so many different things like carnivore diets. What are your thoughts on those? Is there any point at all?
So it comes back to, again, of adherence. Some people can adhere to things better than others. Now, when it comes to like extreme diets, like the carnivore diet, which for anybody who doesn't know who's listening, is literally where you just eat meat, eggs, and I think you're allowed some cheese.
Sounds terrible.
If you tell me that you think eating fruits and vegetables is a bad idea, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, there's somebody who's like, I don't understand how you think that that's a bad thing. It's the same way like when a lot of people go vegetarian or vegan, all of a sudden they report feeling so much better because they went to eating very little fruits and vegetables to eating predominantly fruits and vegetables. Well, no one's arguing the point that fruits and vegetables are great. What you generally find is these people try them for a certain period of time, lose a certain amount of weight because to create a calorie deficit, and then tell everybody that it's the only way to do something. And that's the problem with nutrition, really, that these things are methods that must adhere to principles. Now, it's really culty and weird. It's kind of like would be the jiu-jitsu version of me saying X guard is the only guard that works and no other guard does it all. Because I've used X guard and I've swept somebody, no other guard will sweep somebody.
I mean, that's like, true, Mike, in all honesty.
Is it? Right, see? You can quote me there. Yeah. Oh, like, I was going to go for Berimbolo, but since you both, are 50-50, but I decided against it. So there's a lot of methods out there that work, same as there's a lot of guards, there's a lot of ways to pass guard, etc., etc. So it's about picking the right thing for you. The more extreme it is, though, the less likely that you're going to be able to adhere to it. You show me somebody who says that they're like have been on carnivore for a year and not cheated. I'll show you somebody who's got like candy wrappers under the bed. Like it's just human nature. It just some people like can fit things like intermittent fasting, for example.
Yeah, I was about that because there's supposed to be some research about like longevity and all kinds of things to do with intermittent fasting.
There is, but that comes down to calorie restriction. So generally, not overeating calories can lead to like better quality of life and longer life and stuff like that. Basically, what we're seeing as well as a lot, which I'm not going to really get into, but I will touch on it, is people who are suffering from the coronavirus at the moment. There's a huge portion of people who have underlying issues of, hypercaloric intake and things like that. So that's not the cause of it or anything like that. Again, I'm not a doctor. But yeah, so when it comes to intermittent fasting, some people just wake up in the morning and aren't hungry till lunchtime. Yeah. So it's a good way for it. It's a great way to control, it's very easy to adhere to. You just don't eat. And then it means that you can have bigger meals later in the day so you feel full. But it's not magic. Like if you're losing weight on it, it's because you create a caloric deficit by not eating for a portion of the day. There is stuff like where they talk about like it improves like testosterone production, stuff like that, but it's so minimal that it doesn't matter. Like, and without like you're not building muscle without like, extra calories and stuff like that anyway. So it's a fine method. Say, same as carb cycling is a great method, carb backloading is a great method, like, but it's not a miracle diet. Anyone who says that it is, isn't. Same like you mentioned Game Changers and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's talk about Game Changers, Mike.
I will not be triggered by you, Thomas. So,
did you turn vegan after that?
Yeah, absolutely. No. You see my Instagram. There's no way I'm a vegan. Yeah, but Ben Robson is a vegan, for example. And we do work with a lot of vegan athletes and vegetarian athletes. We get asked about it a ton. The honest answer is that as long as things like the principles are adhered to, so total protein, for example, then there's not really much difference unless we get to the very, very top end of sport. Yeah. And then you generally find that you're not finding any vegan or vegetarian athletes at the very, very top end of sport. Yeah. Now we're talking about 1% of people where, 1% margin of difference is the difference between first and last place kind of thing. So it doesn't really matter. Now, when it comes to getting total protein, like it can absolutely be done and no problem at all. Like what we're after is complete protein. So what you generally find is that vegans and vegetarians have to combine food sources to be able to get them.
Yeah.
Loads of great like vegan and vegetarian like supplements out there at the moment. So somebody mentioned there, like, do you have any recommendations for vegetarians? Like from Alan A, is total protein. Make sure that you're getting complete proteins and the total amount from him. Ben Robson's a great guy to ask on this because again, he is a vegan and he's got loads of great ideas. He's Unorthodox Performance on pretty much everything. But the main thing to think about that is, again, going back to BJJ analogies. When you're a meat eater, if you think about being a vegetarian or a vegan trying to get total protein, is kind of like passing guard with but only using one hand. Can you pass guard? Absolutely. But is it going to be harder than using two? Yeah, it is. So it's the same kind of thing. Can absolutely be done, but you're just going to have to pay a lot more attention to those basic principles to be able to get it done. But
yeah, I think the other opposite side of that is the quality of protein as well. Like, you know, so many people that are omnivorous have like just, they're eating McDonald's and being like, this is a form of protein that I'm going to intake. Yeah. But you will have the negative side effects of that as well, rather than having a well-balanced diet, you know?
Yeah, obviously, like quality proteins massively. And when I'm talking about this as well, I'm talking about this from a nutritional standpoint, not from like ethical. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thanks, Tom. So that's a whole different argument, like a whole different thing that, I'm not educated on it to talk about. So yeah, quality matters. When it comes to protein, you want to try and get it from as many different sources as possible. Like, for example, grass-fed beef is better like in, certain fatty acids and stuff like that. It's not that readily available here in the UK where label does it.
I thought most of the beef in the UK, if it was British-based, was grass-fed anyway, versus the US.
Irish is, I think.
Yeah, the US is corn-fed.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And the reason that they do it corn-fed is just purely because it makes them gain weight faster and things like that.
Yeah.
Because we've got like, and their temperature like varies so much, obviously, where here in an island, it rains all year round. So we've got like, a lot of green so they can pasture on it. Free-range eggs is a massive one. Again, a lot better, but you can pretty much get those anywhere now. Like Aldi do them for like, I think it does them for like £1.50 or something. So like they're a lot better. Farm caught versus line caught salmon, that's like a big thing in America, but not so much here. So like we in the UK see salmon a lot as like where it's orange, where actually salmon's like a really red color. The orange stuff is actually like farm salmon that's dyed orange. The real color of it's like a grey color. It doesn't mean that's bad, and you should certainly still eat because it's got loads of great stuff in it. It's just not as good as the red stuff. But for the extra that it costs, I wouldn't worry about these small, minute differences. If it's the difference again between eating good, healthy, fatty fish or not, then eat it. Fresh tuna's a bit better than canned tuna, but canned tuna's still got loads of great stuff in it. So.
Okay, cool. So in terms of your top recommendations, so if you guys have any specific questions, actually we should probably talk about weight cutting for competition, which is going to be important for a lot of people, I think. Yeah. But before we get on to that, are there any like overall recommendations that you would say for people? So we've got water being 2 to 4 liters a day per on your size.
Yeah.
We have a good mix of quality nutrition, I'm going to say quality foods, so fruits, vegetables, carbohydrates, like what's the thing that is if it's not doesn't live in the sea, walk
on fly or grow in the ground,
that whole thing.
So I'd kind of go like in kind of thing as well. We talked about water there. Get an idea of how many calories that you're eating. It honestly plays such a massive difference to your long-term ability to adjust your own nutrition. Total protein, 1.5 to 2 grams per kilo, depending on how much that you want to eat. 2 to 4 liters of water per day, and then try and eat just as many different coloured fruits and vegetables as possible, but it's some at every meal. And that's going to take a good way.
Yeah, I think that's like simple enough that everybody can understand it. In terms of cutting weight for competition, what advice do you have for people in terms of how long should it take to get down to the weight?
Yeah.
Anything you can think of.
So the first answer is it depends on what level of competition that you're competing at. So, for example, in most sports and like BJJ, we've kind of got, I'm trying to work out camera. So you've got kind of like local level, which is kind of like, the arse end open nowhere. Then you've got like national type stuff, which is like the BJJ Open and stuff like that. Then you've got international stuff, which is kind of like Munich, Rome. Then you've got slightly above, which is the Euros. And then you've got Worlds, Pans, And then over there, we've got subordinately, which we're not going to talk about. So if it's at the lower end of the stuff, just don't cut weight for it. If you're just trying to get competition experience and, and things like that, you don't need to worry about it. It's when you move up towards like the top level of competition at black and brown belt and things like that, Euros, for example, you're trying to get an advantage. A messed up thing in a lot of people's heads is that think that lighter is better. Now, it kind of filters down from like weight cuts from MMA and things like that. It's not that like lighter isn't better, it's where performance is best. Now, what generally happens is people do too harsher cuts and don't perform as well as what they do in the gym. And they're like, why can't I perform as well as I do in the gym? Like, I feel so much stronger, etc. It's because you crash dieted for it. Now, what I would do is kind of like, the more serious athletes they are, the more the plan year round. So they know what weights they're going to be for specific competitions. They pick those competitions ahead of time, or if they're bringing weight down over a period of time, they go, right, this competition I'm going to do this category, then I'm going to do the next one the same, then we're going to move down a little bit, then we're going to move down a little bit more. Like, it's a systematic approach to it. When it comes to cutting weight, the first thing I would say to everybody who's listening is talk to your coach and see what they say. They'll give you an honest answer if you don't need to cut weight. Like, you are absolutely fine in the weight class that you're in, or you could probably use to drop 2 weight classes, but over a period of time. And then pick goals to do that. So in 6 months, I'm going to do it this way. 6 months, I'm going to do it that way. And then again, it's a calculated approach. You're losing so much weight, over that period of time. 1% per week, is a maximum.
Yeah, I mean, from Chelsea, talking about Chelsea's post-pregnancy type return to competition. This is for people out there. We had a plan for what she was doing.
Yeah,
she was doing Europeans as a lightweight in the Masters, and then she was doing London as a lightweight in the adult, and then the next one would have been Pans, I think.
Yeah,
a feather master, and then it would have been adult. Feather, and then dropping down in that way, because it's like we're slowly like increasing the kind of intensity. Obviously, we're going down through the scales, increasing the length of match, increasing the difficulty of competition as well.
Trying to maintain my ability to breastfeed as well.
Yeah,
that's the massive part, that we took. Obviously, we've talked about a lot that is something that a health thing is not only your health that you need to consider, but the health of obviously the baby. Now, what we see a lot with female athletes is they cut weight too harshly. One of the major signs is that their periods stop. Now, like, that's like a massive warning sign. Especially what we find is we get a lot of people coming to us going, "Oh, look, I haven't had a period in 2 years, but now I'm starting to think about having a child, etc." And you're like, well, you need to start, sort that out and be healthy and move into it correctly. And there's a whole different side of that of combat athletes as well about pregnancy, and they don't want to gain weight when it comes to pregnancy because it is like it messes with the mind. The going up, it's a bad thing, but obviously it's having a correct approach like you guys did of doing it over a period of time. So when it comes to like specific competitions and people losing weight, more and more competitions are going to be moving towards the same thing as IBJJF, which is go to bullpen. You can't. There's no weight cutting stuff like that. Like, the maddest stuff you'll ever see is go to a NAGA competition on the day and see how many people weighed in the night before to weighed in the same day. Like, you're getting people who are fighting 70 kilos versus people who are versus 85. It looks madness. It looks like open weight categories. I think that Suboni will go that way as well. Like, Grapple Fest does like same day weigh and stuff like that. I know Polaris.
It's way better. Way better for the athletes, for everything. When you're in that kind of environment. And if you've got a same day weigh in, what is the most that you would recommend kind of cutting? If, let's say, it's like 3 weeks out or whatever.
Yeah, so if it's 3 weeks out, you're talking, what's that, 2, 4, 6, about a couple of kilos max, so it's about being like prepared with it. To give, like, I can't say enough how much you do not want to be dehydrating and weight cutting and messing with water if you don't know what you're doing. To give you an example, more people die of weight cutting than died in all of MMA of being elbowed in the head. You know, on the floor. You know, it's kills so many people. It's so serious. Like
there's the whole thing about it, like drying you out as well. Like in terms of MMA, you've obviously got the brain that's drying out, but you have like the increased risk of the injuries. Everything like that is crazy. If you look at wrestling, for example, jiu-jitsu is not quite as extreme as that, but like college wrestling in the US, they regularly have people die from weight cutting.
Well, they've stopped all forms of weight cutting now. If you get, I believe, like NCAA, like if you get caught weight cutting, you're banned for life. Like they are really.
They've done the double weigh-in thing, I think, now, haven't they? Or like it's like weigh-in every day that you fight. The ADCC did that as well. When I fought in the ADCC, they've started doing that. You have a day before weigh-in, then a day of weigh-in to check that people weren't kind of lose the wrong weights, you know.
And one championship over, you know, in Japan, like an MMA organization, they do very, very similar. Like you can only add, I think, 10% of your body weight back on before the fight and stuff like that.
They're doing it like week out, aren't they, as well now?
Yeah.
They're testing in the weight. It's crazy.
They can weigh you like through your off season as well, like random, like through your camp and company. You can only be, you know, so and things like that because they're trying to ensure fight safety. The fastest way for MMA to get rid of is just to have people die and stuff.
Yeah. In terms, what about during competition? What's going to be good? You know, obviously we talk about like you know, what to eat because you're going to be there if you're in a competition. You know, certainly some of the larger blue belt competitions, you're going to be there for probably 2 hours competing. What's going to be good kind of nutrition to have in that?
So providing that you've either won the competitions where you get there, you win, and then good and you can eat, or is things that you can easily portable that you can just kind of smallly snack on through the day. Like one thing that, like, I know it's becoming a bit of a cliche now, but Rice Krispie Squares is something that, like, you know, I get all the guys to use and stuff. The portable, you can break little bits off. They're dead light on the stomach. They're not going to upset you. The worst thing that you can do is kind of have foods that you're not used to. Like everybody gets to competitions and runs and gets a massive bowl of acai and stuff like that with, you know, loads of stuff in it and then wonder why they feel terrible. Like on competition day, you're going to have a dodgy stomach anyway. Like you just will. Everybody does. Now, the thing that make sure is that you're drinking often, you're hydrated. Now, when most people are getting ready to fight, you're just going to be weeing a lot. You'll be going through flight or fight, which everybody pretty much does. So make sure you do the way to do it. Have a word with your coach, training partners, you know, try and keep them on a schedule. Make sure that you've got a bottle of water that you're sipping all the time. You're not going to want to eat, but making sure that you do not eating like big meals, but smaller more often, so you can have a little bit and snack on it, and you'll feel a lot better.
Perfect. So before we finish, is there anything we've not covered?
Michael wants to know
how can you define a weight cutting to ban a person? I think that's more for the governing bodies this side than Mike.
Unfortunately, I'm not that powerful. I would like to be the emperor of all weight cutting, but Mike, are you on about Mitchell? I'm sorry, or Michael. Do you mean how to put somebody off doing it, or what would I consider too much to be able to cut? So, for example,
I think he's asking how the governing bodies are defining like a weight cut and how they're checking to see.
So, basically, what they're doing is that you can only be a certain percentage of, like, let's say, for MMA, you fight in the lightweight, 155 pounds. What they're saying is that you can only, like, the week out of the competition be like 160 or 165 pounds. Then before the fight night, you can only put 10% on. So you can only put on another 15 pounds, etc. So my math's terrible there. Or is it 15?
It's okay. We understand what you mean, Mike. We understand what you mean.
So
they're weighing before and after, essentially, to make sure that they didn't cut too much water, right? And then rehydrate with an IV. Yeah.
So the UFC actually banned IVs, and the reason a lot of people think it is because of weight cutting. It's not actually. It's because it masks certain steroid use. Nowinski, it's one of the first things he put in. But yeah, it's just a bad idea, you know, especially when being dehydrated and getting punched in the head is the most ridiculous idea anybody's ever come up with. It's like getting choked. Why would you cut off blood supply with doing that well anyway? So it's just where a lot of accidents happen, like injuries as well, like tendons going and that, dodgy knee, all that kind of thing. Like, it's dehydration is a massive thing. It's just not worth it. It doesn't help your performance either.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have something that I completely forgot about was recovery, post-training recovery. We touched on it a little bit. Is there anything you advise, like particularly when, Chelsea and I compete a lot. We train like two times a day, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
What would you kind of advise for that?
So again, making sure that nutritionally wise, protein, carbohydrates going to be a massive part. This is a little out of my area, but it's still something that a lot of BJJ guys neglect, but it's becoming more popular, is like recovery methods. So proper mobility programs. If anybody wants to look up good ones, there is the DeFranco Agile 8 and DeFranco Limber 11. If you go on YouTube, which you're mostly on now, and just type in search, it'll come straight up for free. Which is great routines, takes about 5-10 minutes. Things like contrast baths. There's a lot of like the massage guns and stuff are becoming really popular now. Stuff like that but there's a lot in BJJ where like more is better. Where in what a lot of athletes are, especially when they move towards masters and things like that, is they just end up running themselves into the ground. They can't train. Like, it's hard to train twice a day, every single day. Like, like you'll be able to remember, you used to basically be able to walk across the car park, swing your arms a couple of times, and you could spar at 100%, you'd be fine. Now, it requires more work to be able to do that. It's taking care of yourself, being honest, and like there's a lot of like heart rate monitors and stuff like that now as well, which tell people if they're overtrained and stuff. But
yeah, both Chelsea and I use them. We use Whoops. They're great. Really cool. Very cool.
And obviously there's the disconnect as well. If you guys are, while you are full-time athletes, you're also coaches and stuff like that, and do a lot of other work, full-time parent, parents for a young child, all that kind of stuff. Sleep is a massive one. It's there's nothing I can tell new parents who've been through it twice now. Get it. If you're not recovering and you're not getting enough sleep, then it's such a massive thing. But also like cognitively wise as well. So if you're like sleep deprived, why you can't get techniques that your coach is showing you, or you can't remember stuff while you're rolling, like it's because your brain can't process the information fast enough. So water and sleep are going to play a massive part in that as well. So look at recoveries. Like the more, again, it goes back to the ditch digging analogy. The more you train, the harder you work, the more you're going to have to spend on recovery. Same as like if you're adding in lifting and sprints and yoga, and all these things have a cost attached to them. So you're going to need to find a way to balance it out, which is, easy.
Yeah, I think so. That's pretty much every question I had. Does anybody have any further questions? People that are watching, please type them now and type as fast as you can, and we'll get Mike to answer them.
Because otherwise our baby's going to tear the house down.
Yeah.
I do with that. She's going to get loose and attack the villagers.
She's trying to pull the computer off the
She likes wires.
Right now.
I think she got it from me because I used to like plugs when I was a child. So now she's like trying to crawl over everything.
That doesn't explain anything at all. Anybody's listening and you've got something that you want to ask that you don't want to put like in a public forum, just find me on Unorthodox Nutrition or anything. You can message me, or if you get in touch with Charles or Tom, then I'll happily answer anything anybody's got. Or you remember something later, just hit me up. I'm always happy to help.
Yeah, and if they want to, that's probably the best thing to do, right? If they have any questions or anything, just hit you up. Instagram, I always seem to get you on Instagram, Mike.
Yeah, Unorthodox Nutrition on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much everywhere. So unorthodox-nutrition.com for the website. I don't use websites anymore now.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, people still use them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just differently. Okay, guys. So if no one has any questions, I'm going to give it a couple more seconds. Talk very, very slowly. We're going to show you the baby's feet. Ready?
Show the chunky legs.
Is this an appropriate size for a baby?
Yeah, is this the right size for a baby?
Look at it, Mike. Look how fat her legs are.
Do we need to put her on a diet?
No, bigger. It needs to be bigger. Yeah. Get a bigger babies. Start attaching weights to the hands and legs now, and just keep putting calories in. So,
right, okay. And that's how we're going to get her stronger.
Yeah, massively. Just start get one of those crazy she has the greatest jiu-jitsu genetics ever. So you're a jiu-jitsu baby.
But we're trying to hang her off things and whatnot, and all kinds of different stuff. So I often hang her upside down by her toes.
Yeah.
So getting quite good at being upside down.
Yeah. Like
shoulder as well.
Jacket, tiny for like grip onto and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like grips on something.
This is life. All right, Mike. Cool. I don't think anybody's got any further questions. So thank you very much for coming on and chatting with us and giving up your time. As you say, guys, follow Mike at Unorthodox Nutrition on whatever social media platforms you guys use. And thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks so much for doing it. Had a blast.